gathered here to create a powerful platform where government officials, policymakers, business leaders, economists, industry experts, development partners, and other key figures come together to shape the future of our nation. The insights, diverse perspectives, and actionable recommendations that emerge from these discussions of the Republic of Ghana, the Right Honorable Edward Do Ajahu, Chairman of the Council of State, members of the Council of State, the Honorable Chief of Staff Julius Debra, the Honorable Minister for Finance Dr. Kesel Ato Forsen, Ministers and Deputy Ministers of State, Dr. Ishmael Yamson, and I call him Uncle Yamson, Chairman of the National Economic Dialogue Planning Committee, the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Pandit Isiama, former governors of the Bank of Ghana, heads of security services, the Dean and members of the Diplomatic Corps, His Royal Majesty King Takiteku Churu II, the Gamanche, heads of political parties, captains of industry, chiefs and queen mothers, friends from the media, fellow countrymen, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great honor, President, is to restore macroeconomic stability. We must enforce responsible public financial management and ensure fiscal discipline at all levels of government while working to reduce hardships for our people. Under my leadership, the Bank of Ghana's independence will be safeguarded to implement prudent monetary policies that curb inflation, that stabilize our currency and rebuild our foreign reserves. We must never again allow reckless borrowing and excessive government spending to undermine our progress. Fiscal responsibility must become the bedrock of our national development strategy, and every cedi spent must deliver tangible value to the Ghanaian people. We must review our laws. Thank you. We must review our laws to eliminate excessive waste in the procurement of government supplies and projects. Single source procurement must be the rare exception rather than the norm. We must also subject government projects above a certain threshold to value for money audits. And just this morning I was reviewing some of the procurement reports. And there was this procurement for poultry farmers. 10,000 units of something, and it was single source. The reason for single source was urgency, and one company was giving the contract to supply 10,000 units of whatever it was. The supplier and the person who assembles it was not allowed to bid, and so the company that won it went to the supplier, bought the items for 4,500 and came and sold them for 6,600 to government, and walked away with 21 million cedis on that supply. I mean, how can you do this? I mean, it was our own company we're running. How would we do a thing like this? But that is government bleeding. Everybody cutting their pound of flesh. That must stop. Beyond stabilization, we must undertake a fundamental transformation of our economic structure. Ghana's economy has been heavily reliant on the export of raw materials, such as gold, cocoa, and crude oil, leaving us vulnerable to global price fluctuations and external shocks. We must end this dependence. It is time to transition to a value-added industrialized economy that creates jobs, that boosts exports, and reduces our reliance on imports. Manufacturing and agro-processing must be expanded to ensure that we derive maximum value from our natural resources. Just recently, I think yesterday, the former Chief Justice of this country asked for a review of agreements governing our extractive industry. She describes the current agreements as coming from the Guggisberg era. I agree with her. There must be increased indigenous participation in the exploitation of our natural resources. Ghana must earn more from its natural resource endowment if we are to create wealth and prosperity for our people. My fellow citizens, agriculture is a vital sector of our economy that must be modernized through mechanization, improved irrigation, and the adoption of technology-driven innovations to enhance productivity and ensure food security. We must also harness the power of technology to bridge the digital divide, ensuring that every Ghanaian, no matter their location or background, has access to the opportunities that the digital economy provides. High-speed internet and robust digital infrastructure are no longer luxuries. They are necessities that fuel economic growth and global competitiveness. We gathered here to create a powerful platform where government officials, policymakers, business leaders, economists, industry experts, development partners, and other key figures come together to shape the future of our nation. The insights, diverse perspectives, and actionable recommendations that emerge from these discussions must transcend theoretical frameworks and drive real, impactful decisions that will guide our national economy forward. Throughout our engagement, we will focus on practical strategies to restore macroeconomic stability and pave the way for long-term economic transformation. This includes developing policies that stimulate growth and create sustainable job opportunities for our rapidly growing population. We'll also examine the structural reforms that are necessary to unleash the private sector's potential and make it truly the engine of growth that drives job creation and innovation. Strengthening economic governance institutions will be a key topic of discussion, ensuring transparency and accountability at all levels of government, while taking decisive action to combat corruption and other things that hinder our progress. It is vital that as we move towards a more prosperous future, and that the economic gains we achieve are distributed equitably, leaving no one behind and fostering inclusive growth that benefits every sector of society, from the most marginalized communities to the industrial leaders of tomorrow. This dialogue is a defining moment, and our decisions must set the course for a more resilient, prosperous, and equitable economy for generations to come. When I assumed office barely 2 months ago, I inherited an economy that was in a state of deep crisis. One that was weighted down by numerous challenges. The economy was reeling from unprecedented levels of debt, soaring inflation, high unemployment, declining levels of foreign direct investment, and low business confidence. The financial struggles that our nation is facing have not arisen overnight. They have been the result of several years of financial mismanagement, irresponsible borrowing, reckless spending, and weak leadership that failed to address the underlying structural issues within our economy. This pervasive mismanagement culminated in Ghana's defaults on its debt obligations. This marked a devastating milestone for our dear country, spawning a cascade of economic problems that have severely impacted our people. Huge fiscal deficits, excessive government expenditures, and overall financial imprudence have compromised our economic resilience. Credible rating agencies such as Moody's, Fitch, Standard & Poor have all downgraded our international credit rating consecutively, leading to capital flight and a loss of investor confidence and trust. The Bank of Ghana, instead of serving as an independent monetary authority, became a financing tool for government's excesses, fueling inflation and devaluing our currency. The cost of living has skyrocketed to unbearable levels, leaving families grappling with the inability to afford even the most basic necessities. At the same time, inflation erodes the value of wages and savings, pushing many into a cycle of poverty. Meanwhile, the ill-considered collapse of indigenous banks significantly reduced indigenous presence in Ghana's financial and banking space and led to massive job losses. For too long, Ghana has been plagued by short-term decision-making that prioritizes political expediency over long-term stability. We refuse to accept this as Ghana's reality. We reject the notion that economic hardship must be our norm. We refuse to surrender to the forces of stagnation and decline. We are gathered here today because we believe in Ghana's ability to rise again.
Mr. Chairman, let me seize this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to the organized labor and the Ghana Employers Association for their understanding and collaboration in search of an agreement concerning the minimum wage and base pay. I wish at this point to reaffirm to labor that the NDC government, headed by His Excellency President Mahama, will commit to transparency, accountability, and good governance.
How are you? Eba.